Hello Nigerians, and welcome to another edition of Politics is Life. My name is Yetunde Makinde. I've titled today's content is titled "Why Nigeria is Not Working," or I could put it in a question form and say, "Why is Nigeria not working?" ? And from my perspective, from my observation, and from my observation, I've been able to narrow it down to two things. That is selfishness and ignorance. As I go on, I'll point you in the direction of where I think this acute selfishness has emanated from or stems from, and I would also then discuss, or rather highlight, the causal factor for the ignorance of odds of Nigerians. The combination of selfishness of the ruling elite on the one end and the ignorance of the proletariat, that's the electorate, on the other, has reduced Nigeria to a near basket case. In an ideal world, or under normal circumstances, selfishness is a vice, but not in the modern world, where it gets treated as virtue. Selfishness is couched in the modern day culture of individualism. That's that system that tells us that the individual is more important than community, that the individual individual desire and individual need trumps the desire and the need of community. The worrying culture of selfishness is well represented in Nigeria's politics, where selfish, self-centered and self-absorbed men dominate our political stratosphere. It is self-evident the men who parade themselves as politicians aren't exactly what they put themselves out to be. How I know? Simple. Real politicians are in politics to serve the communities, to serve their constituents, their people, serving them in ways that engender development, and this is done by creating an enabling environment that allows the members of a society, citizens and residents alike, to be their best, that is, to maximize their potentials and their talents. If Nigeria truly has politicians, then a country of over 100 million and still counting should not be without constant, affordable electricity in the 21st century. I intend to do in a future content to discuss the importance of electricity in relation to development and industrialization of a society. Now, the second thing that I believe is responsible for why Nigeria isn't working is ignorance of the proletariat. It's quite unfortunate that odds of Nigerians are ignorant when it comes to what to expect of public servants. A lot of Nigerians aren't even aware that a social contract exists between government and the governed, that's government and citizens. This ignorance is evident in the repeated pattern of Nigerians queuing up behind and campaign for the same set of individuals who for eons have raped and pillaged this country, fritter away resources whilst enriching themselves at our expense. Like I said, selfishness in relation to individualism is a global phenomenon. It's only seemingly pronounced here in Nigeria because of the spirit of poverty. The degree of impoverishment makes it seem like Nigerians are more selfish, but selfishness pervades the entire world. Having said that, I did like to highlight the two systems that drive and sustain ignorance in Nigeria. Incidentally, Both systems are alien to us. These systems for decades have kept the legacy of the colonialist alive and well. The systems are religion and the one-sided education we all receive. I did a video some few weeks back. I titled it Oligarch versus the difference between an oligarch and a politician. You may want to check it out. I'll put the link to it in the description box, where I mentioned that the one-sided education we all receive, which is the education curriculum that is operational in Nigeria, was bequeathed to us by the colonialists at independence, and it still remains, and that curriculum still remains pretty much the same. I mean, the education system in Nigeria is pretty much static. You know, nothing changes, and that curriculum was designed to train up a young child to become an obedient servant. And then religion completely seals it in. You know, somebody who already has been trained up through the education system to be obedient is equally indoctrinated by the two dominant religions, you know, to be subservient, to be submissive to authority figures. Both the Al-Quran and the Bible both state that citizens or people or members of a society are to respect authority figures. They're not to question them, they're not to query them, because God has appointed them over them to rule over them. So even in the face of tyranny, you're still expected to obey these authority figures. I mean, really, for me, what the education system started, religion just seals it and completes the docile attitude and behavior that we see in Nigerians today. So essentially what these two systems have done is reduce the average Nigerian to a weak, subservient person, a spineless chicken. As a body polity, Nigerians have been emasculated to the point we're comfortable sitting in mud. I mean, cheering on your abusers while you're suffering. I mean, you're a victim, right? You're being abused by. If A abuses B, A is the abuser, B is the victim, and then B goes all out to cheer on A. The ruling elites continue to rule without care for the people, yet folks continue to queue up behind them. That's what Nigerians have been reduced to. We don't have that fight in us to fight for what is ours, to go out and take what is ours. And we don't have to do it through violence, because violence begets violence. We can use the mind, but the mind of the average Nigerian is dulled. Religion has dulled the senses of the average Nigerian, so you can't expect much from them in terms of standing up and fighting for their rights, fighting for their lives. As a result of weakness, Nigerians have come to settle for incremental progress, crumbs, which really can't take us where we want to go. We have to summon the courage, rally our resources for the purposes of standing up for ourselves and pushing back against tyrants who currently hold us hostage. We're being held hostage in our own country by internal oppressors. If the incremental progress approach works, Nigeria will not be in such a precarious state as we are now. Pundits and so-called experts would usually throw out the GDP, you know, the growth rate. They would always use the GDP size, sorry. Pundits like to use the GDP size. They like to say, oh, back when this person was in power, the GDP was this and the GDP was that, making very weak comparisons, making very weak arguments. The growth rate is 2.4. That's Nigeria's economic growth rate as of 2017 was 2.4. All right? So that means though the GDP size is thought to be big, we're growing at snail pace. And this is the way it's been now for decades. The best way to measure whether a nation is healthy or whether a country is doing well is to use HDI, Human Development Indices, that measures things like life expectancy, quality of life, access to education, and those kind of things. If we look at Nigeria through the lens of HDI, without even checking the scores, it's apparent that we score very low, that we're doing very poorly. In my humble opinion, only a radical intervention, that is an assemblage of the finest the country's got, working together as a unified, strong force, is the only thing that can bring about the much needed exponential growth and progress that is desperately needed to change Nigeria's trajectory at this point. Akoko Bawashore. Time is not on our side. The clock is going tick-tock, 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 tick-tock on a daily basis. And I wonder if the best individuals fit for the job, men, women, young and old, will step up and take on the responsibility of salvaging what is left of this country before it's too late. So that's it from my corner of YouTube. So until I come your way next time, it's Yetunde Olokun saying, Ireo. One thing you can do for us at LTM to make us happy is to like the content, share it, and then consider making a purchase of my book titled Who Can or Will Save Nigeria? Entire Brigade of Technocrats. The links to where you can make a purchase of both the e-copy and the print version are in the description box below. Until next time, Ire.